Love, welcome to Earth in Transition, a movement, a gathering on summer solstices, and a podcast for the bright and humble hearts willing to dream a new way of being with the earth and all its inhabitants from a place of innocence, of not knowing. Today we explore an economy of the heart, a culture rising from within where service, wisdom, and togetherness become our true wealth. Hi, Jonathan. Welcome to the fourth Earth in Transition podcast episode. And I am here still in the south of France, and I hear you are in Portugal.
Yeah, that's right. Close to the west coast. Beautiful place.
Lovely. We're in our Southern European vibes together. And it's springtime and everything is flourishing. It's really a gorgeous time. We've been blessed with so much rain here, so everything is really blooming like it hasn't in the last 4 years. It feels very lovely. And so we haven't met before, but Eveleigh put us in contact. And from what I hear, you're a steward of ageless wisdom, and you've been heading a group called the 2025 Initiative to work on embodying the transformation that's asked of us in this time of transition. But perhaps you'd be better suited to describe the work you do and what you bring through this bodily expression.
Okay. Thank you, June. Yes, it is lovely. At present, we're blessed with the rain, unusually. It's very good to be here, and thank you for the opportunity. Really, I'm a student of the wisdom, and I'm closely linked to the wisdom group, which is international. It has its sort of origins and focus within the United States, but it's very much part of the ageless wisdom, which is really the common ground for what we might call world stewardship, let's say, linking in with the higher planes and with supporting, as best we can, humanity. So as part of that, yes, I'm linked to the 2025 service group initiative, which is really an intergroup activity with groups in most nations who collaborate and cooperate and occasionally meditate together. So, yeah.
Right. So since we're in the realm of Earth in transition, and this notion of transition is so key from what I hear at this time, and it's spoken of in a lot of the texts and books written by those that you draw a lot of the wisdom from, Alice Bailey and others. Would you feel into sharing in a nutshell why 2025 is such a turning point for humanity?
Mm-hmm. Well, for sure. It's a source of great inspiration. I remember, 25 years ago, hearing about this year, 2025, and thinking, well, will I be around? What does that really mean? And what is its implications and potential? So, yes, we could approach it from the perspective of what is said to be prophetic in terms of wisdom teaching. We could perhaps refer to the Master DK, Dwal from the Alice Bailey teaching, or perhaps Master R, Master Akotsi, and so on. But for me, it really came into view via what we might, which you're probably familiar with, the Yuga cycles, right? But also the Mayan calendar. We're in a 26,000 year reset. And that journey has brought us perhaps from the transition, the earlier transition out of Atlantis to what we might call the origins of our today's civilization. So a great cycle. The 26,000 year cycle is called a great solar year or a great year. It's like a kind of in-breath and out-breath within our planetary life and solar system. Mm-hmm. But it's brought us to the moment which could be the ignition point of the new sphere, the planetary mind, the one mind of humanity, of Earth, awakening to consciousness through us. So the cyclic nature of time is just as significant as the motion of planets and, to which astrology speaks to, the sacred path of time, the sacred path of space, has brought us to this sort of nexus point where we all feel it. We all recognize that the planetary life is in tremendous flux. And I think Olivia spoke, to the butterfly, the caterpillar to butterfly moment of transformation. So this is it really now. These 3 years, 2025, 26, and 27, will bring through the significant changes on this planet. It's a window of time.
I myself am not connected to the stream of Olivier and others, these trans-Himalayan teachings, etc. I've heard a lot of it, bathing in his circles, but I haven't myself drank from those waters. But I have read Sri Yukteswar's book, in which he talks about the yugas, and from what I understood, we were moving into out of Kali Yuga and into a more light golden age type. Yeah. So it's something to look forward to.
And it's happening, if we look at it in terms of the teacher you just mentioned. How do you pronounce his name?
Sri Yukteswar?
Yes. He is a tremendous teacher. I have touched in upon his wisdom, and I believe he does speak to the cycles in a very refreshing and enlightening way. And that transition, it's the same transition, and it's working out from, the cosmic center, the Milky Way galactic center, in that great cycle, like the grandparent, through our solar system, moving into perhaps the photon wave of the galactic horizon, which is a band of light, right, of increasing frequency as we move into that photon band. So others speak of the not just planetary warming, but also solar systemic. I think that the changes taking place within the solar system itself. So yeah, I think we're we are fortunate to be aware of it. We can act upon it, but it's happening whether we know it or not, you know? Yeah.
I see it a bit like the weather. You can have a weather forecast and know that it's going to rain, and so you can be prepared for it and plan on having an umbrella and a raincoat. Or you can not check the weather and go out and get wet, and it's not a big deal. But if you know, you can prepare for it. And in the same way with cosmic movements, if you're aware of the patterns, you can be more prepared and maybe relaxed in what's showing up, whether it's agreeable or a little bit more tension-inducing.
Yeah, yeah. So there's great turmoil and great, that humanity's in a stress point, aren't we? Really. Now is the time for us to question where we're going. Actually, even questioning, we already need to be very much in touch with the new path.
So are there any key inner and outer transformations that you would suggest we implement as a self, an individual, and also as a collective?
Yeah, I've been thinking about it, and there are a couple of key ideas of necessity which we can speak about. One is really the turning aside from materialism. Mm-hmm. The other is the opening of the heart. We've been under the lure, or really a kind of illusion of chasing the tail of materialistic gain. And that's been with us for at least 2,000 years, maybe more, with the Roman system that we inherited. Money being the big attractor for most people. Whether we have the true capacity to make a choice even, because it's a necessity, isn't it? It's very difficult to survive without it. And as that comes into focus in the foreground, if we're not measuring up to that demand, then we may drop out of society, or we may have a breakdown, or society itself will break down. And it's at that moment, usually, I know it happened for myself, where we step into the heart, one way or another. Mm-hmm. And I think that the next big transition is that, isn't it? It's awakening to the heart and recognizing that what we've always done as ordinary people in times of crisis, even catastrophes, we'll help each other. We'll reach out for help, or we'll offer help. And it's putting the care and concern of the other before our own, or before that glamour of chasing the tail of, money and materialism. So I think those two, for me, sum it up.
Yeah, it is a tricky ask sometimes when we are asked to conform in a space that is ruled by this concept that is money. And I just almost finished reading The Soul of Money. I don't know if you've heard of that book.
Oh, no, it sounds great.
It was really beautiful because there are examples from all walks of life, from the extremely wealthy to the extremely poor, from tribal situations in Africa to ultra-rich Californian families. And there's a beautiful depiction of how we may think that things are better on one side or another, but there is no grass is greener on the other side. People who inherit huge amounts of wealth suffer enormously for the pressure that it puts. The relationships and sometimes the lack of authenticity in relationships due to the desire to gain or benefit from these types of people or social circles. And the beauty in it was saying, if you direct the energy of money to what is in your heart, beautiful things happen, even if it's just a few cents. And in her case, being a fundraiser, it happened that she refused a $50,000 check from a big corporate company to support this helping our civilization move out of hunger. And she refused this check because it was tainted with the energy of guilt. It was a move on behalf of the company to clean up their image after a faux pas. And on the contrary, being in Harlem 2 weeks later, raising money with people like you and me that have a very simple life, she received 50 euros here and 5 euros there, and those were carried with an energy of, I want to support this with all my love, with all my heart, even if this is as much as I can give. And in the end, that same company that had given the big check and that she refused, many years later, that person ended up giving a sizably larger amount because it seeded a realization, and he finally realized that he wanted to contribute, but he wanted it to come from his heart, and it came threefold. Yeah. I thought that was a beautiful story.
Wonderful. Yes, and to bring money into the heart as well. This is such a kind of a powerful gift technique. Just to give a little bit of background, I was working in IT for many years. One of my last jobs was with Citibank in London, right there on the Thames front, next to the CI. What is it? CI5. Anyway, and I found myself sleeping out of a United Nations Association van in the north of London. But at some point, I couldn't do that job because it was making fat cats rich at the expense of others. It just wasn't. It wasn't sitting very well. Mm-hmm. Shortly after, I was actually made homeless. I made myself homeless out of divorce, but also I needed to vacate the house so that others could rent it and pay for the mortgage. So I didn't have a house or a home. But it was subsequently something of a long journey, really, that helped me to realize that it's the person to person, isn't it? It's the heart to heart. It's one's willingness to recognize one's responsibility to others. And at that moment, there's a shift and a change. So that there's a recognition, yes, I'm not just here for myself. I'm here to help my family or the others in this world. Mm-hmm. And there's a book actually I would totally recommend that everybody get a copy of, or at least look out for, by Gary Stevenson. He was he got rich on the stock market, but in a similar way, at some point you realize this is all wrong. And now he's a really big voice in Britain to help the working class people to recognize where their true values are. And that the seeking to gain over at the expense of others will ultimately crucify, humanity on this planet. So it's a no-brainer, really. But it's refreshing to encounter people who can actually give it a voice.
Mm.
But there's something else, because we have such a strange relationship with money. It's almost like the way I feel about it is that it's a little bit like you said, it's not entirely clean. It's not like you can pick up a crystal or a stone, a beautiful little pebble, and give it value, right? It's somehow conditioned by the banks, by the culture, by the thought form that we've inherited. And recently I encountered just a beautiful nugget from the wisdom teaching, which brings money into the heart and impresses upon it that money can be a channel for the energy that establishes right relationship. So if we look at that, to establish right relationships between one person and another, right? Between a giver and a receiver, perhaps even between supply and demand, given that supply is really the spiritual source of all things, and the demand is the meeting of our needs, whether they're practical or spiritual. But ultimately, in the nature of exchange, the exchange that we encounter, whether we're using money or not, in order to meet our needs together. So I think that money is a channel through which the energies of right relationship can be established. So I thought that was quite powerful.
Yeah. It kind of resonates with the conversation I had yesterday. We had a music session last night in the dome of the permaculture school of Eveleigh in Nice. And one of his nomad friends came along, who's a writer for video games and currently traveling around, attended Avatara and monadic sessions and such. And we were speaking on this idea of, for this transition, this change to come about, some may feel the need to create an ideal civilization outside of the world we live in, because it's difficult to exist in this space of exchange from the heart in a place that requires you to have so many abonnements. I don't know how you say it in English. Subscriptions. You have to subscribe to insurance, to phone, to this, to that. If you don't have a phone, then you can't have a bank account. If you don't have this, you can't have that. And there's all these shackles. And then he was saying, in another sense, it creates this great distance also if we isolate and separate, when what's asked of us is, on the contrary, like you say, to develop right relationship, to see ourselves as givers of our gift in service to others. And so that comes through, I believe, being at the heart of where change needs to come about, but finding that balance between being aligned in the way we use money and the way we use the tools of this world we've inherited, and the way we can also lean towards this new yuga, this new age of hopefully harmony. And I'm wondering, is there any wisdom you'd like to share on the balance between thinking we need to be in a utopia now, and thinking how can I live in a concrete way in the middle of this world, and yet out of little acts or little ways of being or breathing, be a beacon for this
Yeah.
world. So it's kind of layered. The new world's already there, being embodied by several beings. Yeah, I'm
That's right.
curious.
The new world is here in the ether. The consciousness is here. But the truth is we're in the transition. So we have to make our lives function within the old system, right? And, I'm traveling to the United States quite soon. And that means applying for visas, doing all those checks, infinite checks, having all your ducks in a row, and making sure you can pay your way, all of this. Now, the thing is that economy, that old economy, is a sort of a sequential thing, isn't it? You take a series of steps to fulfill a transaction, and it's kind of crazy making. In somebody's mind, it's logical, but it doesn't have any imagination and no heart. But if we say, okay, the new consciousness is here, the new earth is here, let it not be tomorrow. Let it not be in a separate place. Let it be here now. And a realization that I can share is that of our perception of the new economy. What actually is it? How can we live it in the moment? Mm. Now, when we're born on this planet, for some reason, right away, we need a birth certificate, and we need, if not right away, certainly our parents need a bank account, and the birth certificate means we've suddenly become an asset of the state to be taken care of. This is not natural economy. This is actually a dangerous illusion. Okay, well, what is the real economy? So every other living being on the planet finds its natural place within its relationship, and according to natural law, its needs will be met, right? And we know that nature is an incredible transformative entity, a being, a life of transformation constantly. So even when we die, of course, our bodies are returned to nature, to fire or to earth. But I feel the key to understanding the new economy is to step into that recognition that we're born with it. And, whether we subscribe to, ask and you will receive, the power of intention, but the truth is we're given a mind, an astral body of movement and motion, and a physical etheric, which enables us to act. But those are kind of gifted attributes. Every living being has a mental content, an astral content, and a physical. And every living being has a particular purpose, right? And if it's just to be a human being, which is capable of, if not in the early years, is capable of being in relationship. And so the essence of the new economy is to align with one's purpose even if one doesn't know it, even one is not aware of actually, that's my purpose, right? Simply align purpose with activity. Feel into that. Okay, apparently I have a purpose, a mission, a divine part to play. I'm imbued with certain gifts. I may have handicaps, but nevertheless, I'm here and in relationship with others. So if I can listen, and there's the big step really, listen into the heart and be willing to invite the universe to show me now, here and now, what is my next step? If I'm in a dire place, right? What do? We offer up a prayer. It may be that moment where we say, God help me, right? And it's that moment where there's a connection made with the morphogenetic field or the noosphere or the 0 point, something bigger than ourselves. And if humanity is stepping into the heart, collectively, we will know each other as if for the first time. It won't be to know each other, to see each other as somehow separate, isolated, somewhat fearful, in survival. But we will look through the eyes of the heart to a brother, to a sister, and, where 2 or more of us are gathered, there is the magic, right? There is the, what in quantum mechanics they call uh, the quantum possibility. There is the Christ, basically. Yeah. What do they call that? Quantum superposition. That's right, the superposition. That is of infinite possibility, not finite, fixed, and of really the old economy, which doesn't allow for possibility.
Mm.
It's like take it or leave it, do or die, and nothing much more than that. Yeah.
And especially from what I've noticed personally, and also what I've read from Buckminster Fuller, and I'm sure you're familiar with his work.
Somewhat, yeah.
It's this idea of narrowing us down into these corridors of knowledge. So there's the biologist will become an expert at his little field. The literature professor will be expert in his little field of this age and time, and everyone sort of specializing and therefore becoming kind of weak and wobbly on their legs because there's a lack of relationship and togetherness between the fields of study. And I've always thought it'd be so interesting which is a bit of the concept of this Earth Council that Olivia suggests, which is to bring together, for instance, what would happen if we brought a biologist, a furniture designer, a farmer, and a child together? What would be birthed out of that collective intelligence that would be of use in the relationship between all these fields of knowledge and all these ages and human needs? And there's something, like you said, about this idea of willing to reevaluate our relationships and how we can. I know something I suffer a little bit from. I don't suffer from it, but I wish there was more mixity in my day. When I used to work in event planning, it was me and other 30 to 50-year-olds all day together. I have no interaction whatsoever with teenagers, with kids, with elderly folk. I was segmented in this world, in this age where everyone's going like this. And then suddenly you lift your head and you're retired and you're just with retirees. And when I stopped that job and found myself in the south of France, working on developing my yoga practice, I could go out in the middle of the day, something which I couldn't do before. I was in an office. And I suddenly saw the world of elderly folk going out into the city and into the stores. And I just discovered a whole new layer of life. And they're all on their own, or maybe a few mothers that are off from work with their kids. But do you think, I would love to hear, if you were to close your eyes and travel to this, let's say 100 years into the future, and we've come into a beautiful relationship, we're living in the heart, and we've morphed our economy into something where everyone's giving their gift. Could you like walk us through a day? What would that look like?
Well, I will attempt to, Junie. I love the inspiration of the Earth Council.
Mm.
And the place I would begin is also in my neighborhood, because I live in a very rural area, an agrarian, agricultural society.
Mm-hmm.
And I came here when the old people, the old timers, were still active and busy with their life. It's how I learned beekeeping, also walking and plowing with a donkey, how to garden. And I valued that so much. But what I noticed, even amongst these people, is that they have forgotten the art of speaking to each other as if it really matters.
Mm.
And whether, you're working in an office, a city environment, or whether you're a housewife or, a GP, a doctor, carpenter, a guy who's going to do building work, whatever. We won't do that. We'll just watch football or we'll, have a drink. So where the magic changes is when we give ourselves permission to have the capacity to talk to one another, in a sense like we're doing, if it really matters. And the Earth Council, definitely not 100 years, it's this year. But the keynote, I would say, to shift out of the old economy and the old age into the new, into Aquarius, which is not a hierarchical age. Piscean was hierarchical, top down, right, power over. Aquarius is all about we the people, horizontal. The energy in the atmosphere as we move into Aquarius is really empowering we the people to step out of that illusion, that shadow of power over. And we're seeing it happen with all the, the citizen movements and the creative projects in our neighborhoods and communities, and people waking up to a sense of, well, this is wrong. This world is not, that's crazy what they're doing. I don't want to give it any more energy. I actually want to step into the new earth. I would sum it up in these words. It's we the people in our capacity for group and council leadership or group and cooperative leadership, speaking to the needs of our time with the intuition, with the wisdom that we're each capable of, right? And that might be a little gathering on the land, it might be a little neighborhood, or it might be a council of elders in training. Let's say we're all We need to acknowledge that, don't we? That we are actually elders in training. So I imagine that when the breakdown is happening, which it is really happening now, when those people you mentioned who are, specialists but also isolated are no longer steady on their feet, often it's very personal, but it'll impact the family. The family has to rally, but also as neighbors, that we can have that capacity to meet in a circle, consciously, intentionally, to relate to one another and really look at the condition that we're all experiencing. And it's almost tribal, but it's totally contemporary. And we've always had that capacity. If the governments leave us alone, usually culture creates. So even though I'm not giving a particular visual or an imagination, I'm really expressing the confidence that we can do this today, tomorrow, whenever we really feel that now it's got to be now. This is the way, and out of it will come the new permaculture, the new politics, the new economy, and the new stewardship of our communities and of life on Earth, and of coming of age. How beautiful can that be when we can co-own and steward, having recognized that we have the capacity to contribute responsibly, not as adolescents, but as a maturing species on this earth.
So how would you suggest someone go about opening up spaces like these tribal contemporary gatherings? Have you witnessed any in your own surroundings? Where could someone start?
Well, we're looking towards the June gathering at perhaps more than one location, where there will be an Earth Council event. But I would also love to mention what happened in the COVID year or two, 2020, right? 2021. Mm-hmm. In this part of the world, it's in the, Alentejo, the west coast of Portugal. When we were still in shutdown, lockdown, but looking forward, looking towards society opening up again, a few of us got together, and over a few weeks, we inspired a gathering, and we invited people via, social media to come from the neighborhood throughout the county. And I think there was, 70 or 80 people showed up. And we had an opening circle. It was very beautiful. A certain amount of spiritual dedication and, loving welcoming. And then there was a big circle, like a listening and talking circle. And everybody could speak from their heart about experience, in lockdown and what they were looking forward to. And then we split into 3 smaller circles. And those 3 circles had to do with social organizing, economy, which is like, trading, self-help, exchange, an alternative economy, and culture, So that covered the possibility for us to then do what I believe are three things that people can do to create community, independent community. One already takes place, right? It's alternative market, especially if it's in your neighborhood, be it the city or the rural areas where people get together to trade and exchange their often beautiful handicraft products. So the other thing is celebration. We bring that factor together too. Let's say there's an alternative market, there's an opportunity later on for a celebration. It might be a festival, like at the equinox or the solstice, but also the talking circle, the listening circle, which could be planned in advance if there's a particular focus or need. And those three things, economy, social organizing, and culture and celebration, to me are the keys which empower we the people and bring in the magic, which enables us to say, yes, we're here. We can function independently of the system.
Yeah, I see the beauty in it. I'm wondering how that exports to a larger scale. For instance, in a small group, when we share each other's talents. For instance, one has the crafty handwork with wood, with carpentry, and someone else with making jams, and they can share, and that's local. But in a world where today, for instance, we're speaking over a computer that requires resources from one country and another, and talent and handy hands from one country and engineering from yet another, how can we scale that up to a global application of this system you suggest?
Yeah, that's a big one, isn't it? How do we move into the new economy at that scale? The key to it is consciousness. The key to it is service to others, not service to self. Mm-hmm. And what I've been learning about in terms of new economy is really how to make that shift from service to self to service to others. So if you recall, I mentioned this. It's almost like an equation. It's very definitely the relationship between purpose and activity, mm-hmm. right? If I align with purpose, my activity will reflect it. So then I may, have a kind of a eureka moment, and I think, aha, okay, this is what I'm going to do. This is how I can benefit others. How do I translate that into an economy? Now, I guess I can give an example in the sense that what I do myself is I give online classes as a teacher. I don't charge a fixed amount. I don't ask for a donation. I ask for a value exchange. And I make it known that this is what I'm doing as a livelihood. And I'm giving the others a kind of a minimum guideline, but also the opportunity to pay what they feel is the value, the true value for them. And another step is, let's say there's 2 or 3 of us, and we have a particular project. It might be making something like a free energy device, or creating art or product or also perhaps service oriented. How would the three of us go about honoring the capacity of others who may have very little or may have a lot to actually make that exchange, so that we have a guideline which is a boundary, but we're open to, we're flexible. And if we're functioning as a group, 2 or 3 or more, and we're interacting with groups, group consciousness ultimately, because in Aquarius, that will be our common ground. Not just group identification, but group consciousness, that we are one in this purposeful activity. So then that is quite a big step, because it entails within group consciousness the willingness to learn how to function in group consciousness as a group entity. So even though this is not tying it down to the global scale per se, it's giving a sense of where it might go, because when we're involved in transactions in this in this period of transition, it's very, very susceptible to abuse and to manipulation and to misunderstanding and to lack of agreement. So the clarity of agreement, which also provides safety, doesn't it? It provides a boundary of the relationship and the nature of the negotiation or the exchange. Clarity of agreement is a big step to have in one's awareness, that it is a cornerstone of the new economy and safeguards the experience, so that ultimately the root of it is we want to meet each other's needs, because it's relatively selfless, isn't it? Service to others. We're not giving stuff for free necessarily. Maybe we can do some of it, but that's not practical. So then we need networks. We probably need barter. And I know from my own experience in my local region and community that I'm also willing to help others without actually being paid. I might get the help coming back another day. And it can be very practical, very, very real. Help me build this cabin, this house. I'll help you install your solar, this kind of thing. We don't need to be paid for everything. We need to be paid for enough. And there's another principle, isn't it? The law of enough, to live within that. Yeah. So it's a big, big topic. Yeah.
Yes, definitely. We won't be able to cover or provide solutions for it all in the next 5 minutes, but it has been lovely to hear your perspective, and both the structural sort of conceptual thought form and some very tangible life examples. And I think it'd be nice to close off with, with really anything that you feel would be a gift from your heart to any listeners listening to this stream of conversation.
Okay.
What would like to come through?
Well, Junie, for the others listening, it's perhaps an invitation to step into the awareness of being a one and the many. There is our humanity, and there is our part within the one life, to be the one and the many. It's a tremendous gift. The many who are a one. So
the many. Okay.
The many, 9 billion of us on the planet, right? But we are a one. And if I can hold that awareness, I'm liberating myself from limitation, and I'm stepping into the fullness of potential and possibility. And this is the heart space. And it's personal, it's universal, and it's our connector. It's our connector to divine supply, our connector to fulfillment of purpose and being. And it's in our relationship, in every relationship, where the magic happens. For me, that is the big gift and big step I would invite everyone to consider, that instead of thinking of I, myself, in a body, think of I, myself, in relationship. And we don't have to it's in relationship, ... right? Because it's in relationship with everything. And it's inescapable, and it's essentially, it's love. That's the heart of our being. Yeah.
That's beautiful. It simplifies everything down to a single offering that can be applied in every moment to moment, from waking to falling asleep.
Yeah. It is. It does. It strips aside the ego, and there's no need to become egotistical about this or any of it. It's just recognizing that the truth and magic and the love and the purpose is in the relationship with whoever shows up, whatever shows up.
All right. Thank you, Jonathan.
Okay. Thank you, Jenny.
If anyone wants to follow up or learn more from you, is there one place you would send them?
Sure. Yeah, thank you. The website where there is a resource for wisdom, teaching, and events, including the June gathering in the Sierra Nevada, California, is www.appliedwisdomteaching.org. Each word has a hyphen. Wisdom, appliedwisdomteaching.org. Okay.
Right.
Thank you.